So if you know the chapters of the Bible, they're not written historically in order historically. So you can actually pull in other contexts from history and you can start matching the stories within the Bible to an actual historical context. And it gives you a lot more understanding of what these stories mean on like a metaphorical level. And that was sort of what started happening to me was I started seeing patterns in everything. As a journalist, when we're trying to figure out causality of things or why things are happening, we look at who has a motive in it, right? Who has a reason, to want to tell the truth or not tell the truth or lie, or how do we, I wouldn't say it's a manipulative mindset, but it's definitely analytical. And so I started looking at analytically, like what, and I felt the Holy Spirit in the Bible, which is the crazy thing. I felt the Holy Spirit coming through the words and saying the information's in here. It's just not literal. It's been the information is in here. And so when I started seeing all this symbology and I started seeing how, in fact, the church had been used to control the people and everything had been flipped. And we all had the ability to have Christ consciousness. We could all have Christ within us. And then from there, it just piddled out into like, how many ways has this been exploited in a way that like made sense to me? Like local government, corrupt courts, the voting system, what they're putting in the foods, privatized prison systems, like the Federal Reserve. And it was just like, as an investigative reporter, I was like, now the MO makes sense. Now the motive for why everything has gotten so, you know what I mean, starts to make sense.
You didn't mention COVID. You didn't mention COVID-19. Is that perfect?
COVID, everything we watch on mainstream media, interestingly enough, everything is a shade of gray. First of all, there's no yes or no. It totally did happen or it totally didn't happen. Was it manufactured to create an energetic response from the people? 100%. 100%. Did it change the way life is today? Absolutely. And then who is responsible for it? Well, somebody is. Somebody is. Even if energetically it's just a reflection of how the parasitic energies that run within the governments, the elite powers that be, those that would keep us divided along lines of race or gender or political party, they eat off of us parasitically. And COVID was a great example of, they needed to print some money. They needed to make a lot of money. And how did they find ways to issue grants and inject money into the economy to prop up all of these corporations that otherwise would have? That's what they did. And so the thing, that's what you start, I think, to look at when you, as an awake journalist, is like, there's ramifications to the spiritual truths. It's not all just like, there's ramifications, and then there's a responsibility, which is probably why I would assume why you're feeling called to do this podcast, is because once you see it, there's a responsibility.
Once you see, you can see it, first of all, and then secondly, there's a responsibility to help others who may be having some sort of revelations themselves, right? I mean, we have to try to educate, help others who may be going through something similar, I feel like. So that's kind of what I feel about it.
Yeah, no, it's, the thing about it is what I found also with a spiritual awakening is, I had to leave Atlanta. I had a business, a video production business I was running. I was doing a lot of like social media content for companies and brands. Basically every bit of content I made, in order for it to be profitable to me, had to be sponsored by something.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had to make a freaking profit off of it. Like I had to prop up a product, or like take a stance, or like support a organization, and I had to put my face on that. And I found it was gagging me from saying what I wanted to say, and just my honest observations, because of what is this, how am I going to represent that brand? That brand's not going to want to associate with me because I'm talking about this, or this. And when you see how deeply run it is, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, all of consumerism within these big box stores, like even the medical system, like the insurance companies, like all the bureaucracy, and you see how it's like, who can I, which is why I had to run off to the woods in Colorado and just find a place where I could support myself and be me without having to, because I was always pissing somebody off. Mm-hmm. I was always saying something that wasn't supposed to be said in terms of whatever the sponsor was for whatever, and that's what sucks about this economy is like, I don't know how many people you've seen recently, they're getting fired. There was that awesome girl that did that song from Waffle House and she got canned. Like she just did a video of her and the waitstaff washing dishes and like singing to some trending song. She got, after 6 years of working there, the fact that we're owned by these companies. I went through it a long time ago on a really public stage, but now even to watch people like, social media but it will free us if we use it correctly.
People are learning through other creators, right? Like yourself and like others. So let's transition now to your TikTok, because you call yourself We Are Christ. Do you feel like that's kind of presumptuous to say we are Christ? Like, what's your take on that?
So we are Christ. So you're a Christ, I'm Christ. We all have the capacity for a Christ consciousness. Now, when I talk about a Christ consciousness, this is not Christian Jesus. Christian Jesus. In fact, there wasn't even a J in Hebrew, so let's just get that out of the way. That's not even his freaking name. Christian Jesus, after the gentleman that was sacrificed, became something that was patented and owned and then used by organizations, charities, churches, the monarchy to control people. Jesus fell out of it. Yeshua fell out of it a long time ago. Christ consciousness, we are Christ, is this idea, and it's not an idea because it's the freaking truth, that when people spiritually awake, they awake to a collective unity, a collective my experience is impacts your experience. We are tied together. That's why we see all these mirrors of our life happening in the themes and the archetypes of other people's life. Christ conscious means we've connected back to our eternal nature, which if you think about reincarnation and beliefs like this, when they told us that death was finite, when the church said, you better come to me and bring the money because otherwise you're going to burn in hell, and they erased reincarnation, we then lived in fear of death.